Hi, welcome to Audiobook Academy. This is a self-paced audiobook. There's no need to keep an eye on things. Just pay attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen. This is a book summary of The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Tom Brady won his 7th Super Bowl and received his 5th Most Valuable Player award in 2021, when he was 43 years old. Although this is a remarkable accomplishment, the athlete's journey has not been without its challenges. Brady was suspended for 4 games in 2016 as a result of an alleged cheating scheme involving his teammates. Brady claims that reading the 4 agreements helped him get through this difficult time, and that he reads it every year as a result. How can I be more honest and accept things that don't go according to plan? Brady wonders. When you strive to combat everything, you eventually come to the realization that you are only accountable for yourself. Founded on Toltec wisdom, The Four Agreements is an instantly fascinating and enlightening book for everyone. It is about personal responsibility and personal freedom, and it provides guidance on how to live a more fulfilling life. Don Miguel Ruiz is a best-selling Mexican author who specializes in Toltec and neo-shamanistic teachings. By freeing ourselves of the agreements we're born with and brainwashed with, we can establish new agreements and receive fresh knowledge into how to live. The author demonstrates how we can all gain spiritual enlightenment through the application of ancient principles to current living. In 2018, Watkins named him as one of the 100 most spiritually influential living people, according to his website. He originally planned to become a surgeon, but after a near-death experience, he decided to train as a shaman. We'll go over the 4 agreements that we should adhere to in a concise manner. 1. Using these simple and practical ideas, we'll also look at how we may improve our attitude on life and make better decisions. Ruiz takes us back to the basics and demonstrates that being content is all about accepting personal responsibility for one's actions. We are all part of everything. By incorporating the 4 agreements into our daily lives, we will be able to come to terms with ourselves, achieve our dreams, and live a far more harmonious life. Toltec society existed prior to the arrival of the Aztecs. It is these very ideas that serve as the foundation for this book. The Toltec civilization was intellectually and culturally gifted, and they were deeply spiritual people who passed on their knowledge from generation to generation. They had scientific, artistic, and spiritual knowledge that was passed down, and it is these very ideas that serve as the foundation for this book. Toltec philosophy was created out of direct communication with nature and its cycles, and these beliefs have ramifications in the fields of art, science, and spirituality. This book demonstrates how to realign our ideals for the contemporary reader, who is frequently disassociated from all of nature's core rules and laws of nature. Toltec lore concludes that everything is a manifestation of God, and that we all embody God, and that implementing these accords to our daily lives can be both transforming and freeing. Human beings are composed of love and light, and they are reflections of God. This implies that each and every one of us is a sacred being. In all things, we should be able to recognize ourselves, but the problem is that our vision has been blurred and warped. Ruiz illustrates his point with the analogy of a mirror. At first, we could see ourselves in the mirror, but as time went on, the mirror grew unclear. As time went on, the mirror grew fogged up, making it impossible to see ourselves, others, or the surrounding environment clearly. We've also failed to grasp that we're all fundamentally the same in many ways. The 4 agreements are intended to clear away the haze, allowing us to see more clearly and understand more clearly. Domesticating humans. Toltec traditions assert that people have been tamed, which may seem strange at first glance. We'll see why this is the case if we dissect the situation more. In this case, the argument is that we've been conditioned to conform in specific ways that are peculiar to our cultural, social, and political environments. When it comes to how we grow up believing in the world around us and adhering to specific normative roles and rules, it truly is a game of chance. Even while many of us have individual and personal goals and aspirations, we've also been given a worldview that helps to create who we are. It all starts with our ancestors. Take a moment to consider your given name. What was your given name, and have you ever entertained the notion of altering it? Consider the language you speak now, and how you came to be fluent in that particular language. Were you raised in a religious tradition? What do you consider to be your basic values? Yet, despite the fact that these are important things that form part of our identity and sense of belonging, we have no control over any of them. Even if we have the ability to change and adapt some of these things, we have been domesticated and impacted by the outside dream since the moment of our conception. Outside of ourselves, the outside dream is defined as everything in our environment that has been culturally created, everything that is perceived as normal by us, how we decide what is right and wrong, and what we believe. Generally speaking, these are rules that we accept as true, and these understandings are frequently taken for granted. Question your religious beliefs, value systems, or the way you live on a regular basis, and how often do you think about it? Because we established these agreements with ourselves a long time ago, often without recognizing it, many of us don't think twice about them anymore. He claims that we are born into the outer dream and are therefore indoctrinated, and as a result we rarely challenge our own beliefs and assumptions about the world. So, how did humans get domesticated in the first place? Ruiz adds that when we are children, we are not dissimilar to dogs and that we respond to a state of being that is both rewarding and punishing. When we act well, our parents praise us; nevertheless, when we misbehave, we are chastised by our parents. I'm sure you've heard the expression childlike wonder, but what exactly does it mean? You've probably observed how much joy and curious delight children seem to be experiencing as they go about their daily lives. Unfortunately, being inquisitive comes with its own set of dangers, and you'll frequently hear a parent dissuade toddlers from exploring too much or even shouting no. In this way, many of the characteristics we are born with are domesticated out of us as a result of caring and educational opportunities. After a while, we are able to take control of our own domestication process. Our specific beliefs and ideals guide our actions, and we accept the reality of the world around us as it is. Despite the fact that we may not have consciously agreed with our worldviews, we accept them nevertheless. The inner judge and the inner victim are two of the most fundamental accords that we may come to terms with. What aspects of your personality would you like to improve? Do you believe that you would be happier if your circumstances were different? Many of us are the hardest critics of ourselves. We have views about how we should act and look in various situations, and these assumptions are frequently based on an external dream. When we fail to live up to this ideal, we are filled with shame and dissatisfaction. And, the thing with guilt is that it is unrelenting in its pursuit of you. It doesn't seem to go away on its own. When we are burdened with so much guilt, we become victims, and it is impossible to move on from our mistakes when we are constantly reminded of them. You may find yourself not only punishing yourself again and over again, but also punishing everyone around you as a result of this snowball effect. This encourages us to believe that other people will suffer as a result of our pain. We dream about our realities, and we live inside our personal dreams, interacting with others as a result of our dreams about our realities. So what if we ditch our prior agreements in favor of new and healthier ones that will allow us to thrive in our new environment? Words are more powerful than a sword, they say. Many people advise us to choose our words carefully, and there's a good reason for this advice. The power of words is astounding. He argues that we must be impeccable with our words since God speaks directly to us through the written word. Can you recall a time when someone said something to you that was extremely damaging to you? Yes, you certainly can, because words have a considerable amount of staying power. Being mindful of this can allow you to be kinder and softer with your words in the future, since just as we remember the nasty things people say, we also remember the wonderful things people say. If you're told repeatedly as a child that you can't sing, that you're bothersome, or that you're not attractive enough, you'll come to believe that this is real, and you'll come to an agreement with yourself that this is the case. It will take a long time for you to come to a new understanding and to begin to think differently about yourself. If we take this to an extreme macro level, tyrants and populist leaders frequently use their words as a potent technique of propaganda to further their political objectives. Hitler was able to persuade nearly the whole country to support his political ideals, and thus Nazi Germany was formed. Negative words, according to our author, are equivalent to black magic. Gossip is a powerful sort of black magic that has a huge impact on our perceptions of the world and other people. For example, if someone expresses dissatisfaction with someone, our perception of that person is clouded. We may not even have met the person who is the subject of the gossip, yet the rumors affect our impression of them nonetheless. Ruiz asserts that gossip is a poison, and that we must be more critical of how we deal with it, whether it is deliberate or unintentional. Although being immaculate with our words may seem simple, it is a little more complicated than we might imagine. There are 4 agreements in all, but this is the most significant of them all, and the word impeccable is really at the heart of everything. Because impeccable means without sin, this agreement implies that our statements can be considered a sin against ourselves as much as against others. Developing the skill of selecting and using our words with care is therefore quite important. Thus, we must learn to express ourselves honestly and with a sense of integrity and honesty in our speech. Positive energy flows via our words, allowing us to be more productive and fulfilled in our lives. Furthermore, by using our words for good, we are able to uplift ourselves as well as people in our immediate vicinity. The white magic created by positive and affirming words aids in the destruction of any black magic that may still be present in the environment. Remember to use your words for good rather than for harm, and to convey love rather than fear. The amount of self-love you have can readily be used to determine the reliability of your word. It is not a personal attack. According to Eckhart Tolle, when you recognize it isn't personal, there is no longer an urge to react in the traditional sense. It's not simple to adopt the attitude of not taking things personally at first, but once we've mastered the initial agreement, it becomes much easier. Become calmer and more in control of our emotions and actions by being more attentive and impeccable with our words. This sense of awareness assists us in realizing that we have no influence over anything other than ourselves. When we take things personally, we set off a chain reaction of events that lead to calamity. Can you recall the most recent disagreement you had? The majority of disagreements occur because we take something personally. Taking things personally results in our becoming offended, which leads to us retaliating, which results in the other person taking what we said personally, which results in them becoming offended and saying something back that offends us. This cycle can last for a long time and usually results in a great deal of animosity. So, how can we teach ourselves not to take things personally anymore? To begin with, recognize that everything negative is not directed at you, rather, it is directed at someone else. To avoid being offended by something someone says, take a deep breath and remind yourself that this is about them only. Everyone is coping with their own problems, and they frequently try to divert your attention by dumping their problems on you. There is no need for you to become involved in someone else's truth or viewpoint, everyone has their own. When you suffer at the hands of other people, it is unnecessary because you have only reacted to their perception of you in the first place. A person's perception of you, manifested through their low self-esteem, is expressed when they call you stupid. You are wasting your time by putting up with this insult because it reflects on them rather than on yourself. Nice things begin to happen when we recognize that taking things personally is a foolish and pointless exercise. It takes time and effort, but once we know this, good things begin to happen. In order to do this, we must grow immune to what other people think of us and our actions. Once this occurs, we are able to express our vulnerability, open ourselves up to love and trust, and be fearful of being wounded. Furthermore, we will find ourselves at peace and will be able to treat others with greater empathy as a result of this experience. The majority of assumptions are incorrect. Despite the fact that we've all heard quotes regarding assumptions, the majority of us continue to think things that aren't accurate. With assumptions, we fill in the blanks with what we believe is accurate or what we assume is conceivable based on our knowledge of the story's events. This is quite risky and can result in a great deal of confusion. When we're in a relationship, we're prone to making assumptions. The first thing we do is assume that we both want the same things, and we are always astonished and disappointed when we discover that what we had assumed was true was not the case. If you think that your partner wants to spend every weekend with you, you will be disappointed if they do not schedule that time for you to spend with them instead. This will result in animosity and unnecessarily distressing circumstances. The key to dealing with assumptions is to challenge them. To be successful, you must be aware of your own expectations as well as the expectations of others. You must also ask questions if you do not already know the answers. The only way to challenge preconceptions and seek the truth is through the process of asking questions and conducting research. An exercise to try is to force yourself to ask questions and communicate whenever you are inclined to assume something. This will prevent you from leaping to conclusions. Eventually, this will become a second nature to the individual. If you put up your best effort, there is no such thing as failure. Everybody tells us to do our best all of the time, but what exactly does best mean? Our best isn't something that can be quantified or assigned a monetary value. Sometimes our very best is a tremendous achievement, and on other days it may be as simple as getting out of bed in the morning. On some days, we're in excellent health, but on other days, we're not. As a result, our performance is influenced by our physical and mental well-being. One of the most important strategies to achieve our best is to develop healthy habits, which will allow us to steadily improve our performance. Overexerting yourself and becoming overwhelmed and overwrought is not something we want to do. Ruiz believes that when we do our best, good things happen, and that this has a knock-on impact that spreads to all aspects of our lives. Our outlook on life improves and our productivity increases when we strive to accomplish our best. As a bonus, we are happier and no longer suffer from the guilt and blame that come with procrastination. What matters is that you serve yourself while also respecting God. It is not about being perfect. We must learn when to say no and when to say yes in order to perform at our highest level. We should also learn when it is okay to let go of certain things. Doing our best entails concentrating on the positive aspects of life, being present in the moment, and taking action. We will be more careful with our words, we will be less prone to take things personally, and we will be less inclined to make assumptions, according to Ruiz, if we cultivate the mindset of constantly striving to be our best. In a nutshell, we must do everything in our power to stick to the 3 preceding agreements. Finally, I'd want to say, when we acknowledge that our current reality is a dream that we have chosen to inhabit, we recognize our potential to change it. There is a phrase from the 1998 film The Truman Show that says, "We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented." This fascinating book provides amazing knowledge as well as practical counsel on how we might live our lives in accordance with our personal truth. We can learn to face our anxieties, acquire control over our emotions, forgive one another, and eliminate previous agreements we've made around judgment, victimhood, fear, fog, and confusion by studying the fundamentals of Toltec philosophy. Have you come to terms with the truth of your world, and do you wish you had the power to alter it? The future belongs to those who trust in the beauty of their dreams, Eleanor Roosevelt once stated. Thank you for listening in Audiobook Academy. Please don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. See you in next audiobook.